Thank you for joining us. We're really very excited to bring to you a very special group of women here to talk about their experiences as Indigenous female athletes. This is brought to you by the Indigenous Athletic Advancement Council and, of course, Sleep Number, our hosts. Yes. A bit about the Indigenous Athletics Advancement Council, or IAAC, is a group of Native professionals that are involved in the area of sports and advancing opportunities for Native people throughout Indian country. And the reason that we gathered, and we really gathered in strength around the Women's Final Four of 2022, was to elevate awareness on what has been a statistic that is bothersome. It's been the way a very long time, and that is that 0.37%, less than 0.5% of all NCAA athletes are Native American. And this is a profound statistic, and I would say it's higher now than it ever has been, right? It's a profound statistic because there is so much talent in Indian country, in our tribal communities. In fact, I would argue that there's some of the best talent in Indian country that's not being seen. So there's a gap in the opportunities to play at the highest level, to get education and beyond, and what we have going on in our tribal communities. Very, very popular, basketball, lacrosse, many, many sports. So we set out to bridge that gap, and to do so, a foundational thing is education and awareness of the fact that Native people are still here. We've got over 570 tribal communities in the United States. They are thriving, they are beautiful. We are re-embracing our culture and our language. And the effects of federal termination policies, including reservations, boarding school, assimilation, land stealing, those all are very, very real in our communities yet, but the resilience of Native people is one of the most beautiful things I know, and I'm very proud to be a citizen of the Mvskoke Creek Nation of Oklahoma. I have a couple other folks from the Creek Nation here, and we're here to share our story with y'all. So I'm gonna start by asking each of our panelists to introduce themselves and share a little bit about where they're from. You wanna start, RaeAnn? That's okay.
Hello. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. RaeAnn Crispy, Kia ani nishle, naklishijini bashichin, nakadene dashache do naklishijini edashanele. I am from Shiprock, New Mexico, and I just introduced myself in my native language, the Dene language, and I am half Navajo, half African American. My mother's side is from Shiprock, New Mexico, and my father's side is from Joliet, Illinois. I currently coach and is Assistant Dean of Instruction and Athletic Director at Navajo Preparatory School. So thank you.
Yate she Ryneldi Becenti Tabayishnet do Senjikina Bushishchin. I'm originally from Fort Defiance, Arizona, but I am originally residing in Shiprock, New Mexico. I'm a youth sports coordinator, and I travel around and do a lot of sports, working with the youth. Other than that, I'm Ryneldi.
Ryneldi is very humble, and when she usually in crowds just has to say she's Ryneldi. But Ryneldi is the first Native woman to play in the WNBA. She's in in 4 Hall of Fames, and I've had the honor of playing with Ryneldi. She's an incredible point guard. She kept me in line, made sure I scored buckets.
She's very demanding on the court.
Are you gonna go? Go ahead.
Hihani Washe, Machiapi, Lakota Beatty. Hello, my name is Lakota. I'm an enrolled member of the Caddo Nation. I was a student athlete at Oklahoma State University, and then I transferred to Oral Roberts University, which is a Division I in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I am currently studying to become a licensed professional counselor, and then I train little kids, and I just like to give back to my community.
Yate she RaeAnn West in she ashin lishle do tachitni bashachin. Just my name is RaeAnn West. I'm from Fort Defiance, Arizona. Went to Winter Rock High School, 4-time state champion, back-to-back player of the year. Got a graduated when I was 16. got a full ride scholarship to Northern Arizona University. Was recruited by Charlie Turner Thorne and Meg Sanders, excuse me, before they went to Arizona State University. Just right now, I'm a licensed agent, financial agent, and also doing resilient training, which is geared toward youth sports, youth basketball for the most part, and also have travel teams that I coach. So just trying to give back in every way I can.
Laloitza Inamunikwas Jude Schimmel. Hello, my name is Jude Schimmel. I'm grateful to be here. Very honored to be up here with these ladies. I'm originally from Eastern Oregon, the Umatilla Indian Reservation. Born and raised there, and then my family and I moved to Portland, Oregon for a couple years. Went on to play basketball at the University of Louisville for 4 years. Played a national championship game with them. In 2013, I tried out for the Dallas Wings, got cut, played overseas in Spain for a season, and right now I'm currently training to play professional ball again.
We have several other, what we're calling legends here in our effort to indigenize the Final Four. But Jude, has the unique experience of playing in a Final Four, and so we want to lift her up and make sure we recognize that. I also forgot to tell you a little bit myself, because when I'm with these ladies, I certainly don't feel like I'm anything to speak much of. But I also did play a little ball. I played for the University of Wisconsin. I grew up here and went to Tartan. I played for the Badgers. I'm in the Hall of Fame there. I was drafted to the WNBA, and I played overseas for several years, and I played for the longest period of my life in what we call res ball, which is basketball tournaments all around Indian country, where you pretty much have to be an enrolled member somewhere, and then you get to play in these tournaments, and the ball is good, the ball is fast, and if y'all ever get the opportunity to come watch some res ball, please do, because you will leave happy that you had the experience. And there's no such thing as timeouts.
Or fouls.
Or fouls. All right, we'll start on the other end. Jude, can you talk about the significance of sports in tribal communities, the physical activity, the history of it, and just what sports mean in Indian country?
Yeah, first and foremost, I would just say sports in general for our people, it's medicine. It helps us heal, it helps us grow, helps us advance our lives in, all different categories, aspects. But it's so important. I feel like there was a lot of things that we were stripped of very early, and then we use sport as, a healthy activity to just do healthy things. It helps us physically, mentally, emotionally, everything. But I would say today it's so prominent, so important. It hasn't lost any significance on any res, I'm pretty sure. I mean, basketball is probably the #1 sport across Indian country, but we play everything. We do everything. I have 7 siblings, and each and every one of us probably played about 4 to 5 sports growing up. And like I said, it just helps us and heals us. And it's such a simple thing, to go out there and go for a walk, go for a jog, pick up a basketball. We haven't always had like the best resources or the most resources, and obviously not the most opportunities, but it's just a very big, prominent thing on reservations and for our Indian people. And clearly, we now know that it can take us places. It can give us experiences that we never even could have dreamt of. And it's just, it holds a very, very significant place, like in our hearts as a people. So.
RaeAnn.
Sports plays a huge role. It brings our communities together. Where I'm from, Fort Defiant, the Navajo Nation, we have 5 arenas that are can't even talk, sorry, a capacity of 5,000 people, and we pack those gyms. People get up early in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, in the snow, in the rain, in the cold, and they'll be sitting out there, we're waiting to get their tickets. So that's how big it is. It brings our community together, and it just helps lift us. If it wasn't for the support of the Navajo Nation and my family, I wouldn't have made it. That's what pushed me. That's what made me. I just want to make them proud, to this day. So that's why I grind so hard, get 3-4 hours of sleep at night. Like Kobe says, I sleep when I'm dead. That's kind of what I'm going for, because, Jessie's given some light on, Native Americans, and we just got to continue to do what we can to get that light brighter and brighter on us so we can, you know, for the kids behind us.
Thank you. Lakota?
I would say that for Native people, sports is a lifeline. You know, it's one of our main resources to keep us alive. Unlike other demographics, I think there are just extracurricular activities like, oh, we're going to go play baseball or go do this. And it's like, we do this to keep us alive. As Native people, we are suppressed. We have the highest rates of depression, suicide, all of this stuff. And so sports is a way for us to come together. We're community-led people, community-oriented. And so, I mean, sports is our entire life. I remember I had a basketball in my hand when I was like 1. My parents played, my grandparents. Unfortunately, didn't get to play like a lot of others because they were in boarding schools, you know, forced off their land, couldn't speak their languages. And so I got to play in the Sweet 16, and I think for us, we can see that it can take us places. You know, I've been all over the country. So it's really like a resource for us, a very important resource.
I'm going to ask a follow-up question to that, to Ryneldi and RaeAnn. If we've heard from these ladies how important and how incredible sports are for Native communities, why aren't those opportunities translating into the highest levels of sports?
Very good question. For me personally, like I've grown up in a real small community. Like basketball was my passion, and my growing up, I only had, living on a small community, only had one store. We never had a freeway. Everything was just potatoes, Spam, and hamburger, you know, and fried bread is all we ate. And basketball was like a passion and a ticket for me. And for me to be the first to move off the reservation, and basketball was the ticket for me. And you know, of course, it was education, but growing up with just a single parent with my dad, my mom passed away when I was going into high school. So it was just a passion that I wanted to be the first to go to college and get my education and to play at a university, because at that time, there was nobody in the Native American community. So I wanted to be the first. And so I've seen Cheryl Miller on TV, and she made the Olympics, and the commentator said, wow, look at Cheryl Miller. She's opening a lot of doors for African American. And so as a young kid, when I first seen that, that was my vision, and that was my passion, and that's what I wanted to do. I said, for me personally, I said, I want to be the first, and that's what I did. I had that vision already, and I had that dream in mind. And it just comes from the heart, from where I grew up. And so the struggle with right now with this generation is we're trying to find that outlet. And all of us sitting here at this panel, we're trying to inspire all these Native American kids to get out there. And that's what we're trying to do. And thank you to Jess and the people that surround to build this big foundation. I mean, who would ever think, I mean, like this whole weekend, who would ever thought we'd be sitting here at the Final Four and this atmosphere? It's a dream. It's a dream come true for all of us. And yet we get to go back to our communities and say, hey, this is what we've done. Now, you know, I hope we've opened more doors for so many more Native Americans. And like 3 weeks ago, I'm sitting in New York, and I'm on Sesame Street doing a video, and I'm like, wow, I'm with Elmo, you know? I mean, like, you know, I'm a little kid that grew up, all we watched was PBS in the morning. Hey, Sesame Street's on, you know? And now, now, I'm like, Elmo, I'm really with you, you know? And it was an amazing dream. It was just, it's just unbelievable, and being here today it's just unbelievable, and it's just a dream come true for all of us, you know. I think it just really is emotional for all of us, because it's like, wow, it's just a great experience for all of us. So I hope a lot of kids, and not just Native Americans, but everybody here, that, you know, you can go back and inspire so many people. So yes, thank you.
And we're not supposed to be here, you know. We're not supposed to be here. We're statistics. we're natives, we're alcoholics, we're this, we're that, and we're not supposed to be here. So that's why we're trying to pave the way to make sure that the younger generation sees this and they start to believe that these dreams can come true.
So, like many of the ladies on the panel, I also come from a small community called Shiprock, New Mexico. It's on a Navajo reservation. But, you know, I think for a lot of our student athletes on the Navajo reservation or just on the reservation, you know, many of them have not been, you know, outside what we call the Four Corners area. And so, you know, being able to be showcased and now, you know, these where coaches go see like these big AAU tournaments or, you know, these big events at these different cities. You know, a lot of our student athletes, it's gotten a lot better now. And that's why we think, or that's why more and more athletes, I don't want to say only Navajo, but Native Americans are getting more exposure now because we're now able to go out to participate in some of these big AAU events where they can get recognized. But before that, it was just, you know, like RaeAnn said, just grinding every day, you know, to hopefully be able to somebody to see me. You know, we have a lot of Native athletes who are really good in their high school, but as far as they go, you know, and we know that they can, you know, participate and play at that Division I, II junior college level, but it's just that exposure that we're not getting. And so, you know, with that, I really believe that with us being here with this, you know, it's gonna, just like they said, open more eyes and know that they can be here as well.
Thank you. And just to follow up on what all these ladies have said, this is a system that Native people were never intended to be a part of. In fact, purposely kept out of and attempted to terminate all Native people and all tribal governments. And that wasn't that long ago. This isn't ancient history. All of our grandmothers were boarding school survivors. I say survivors because it was an incredibly traumatic thing to go to a place, be taken from your family, told to not speak your own language, your hair cut, and told to eliminate every identity, every piece of identity you have as a Native person. And we were raised by people that had that experience, and some of the ladies with us went to boarding school themselves. So this is not ancient history, like I said, and we are still working to address the things that come after that. There's ramifications, and there's prices to be paid. And I think that that is important for this audience to understand, because history is something you can easily put away unless it's put in your face. And these ladies are here with their lived experiences and how they powered through and how they got to the next level. And we're trying to make sure that that pathway is clear for the others who are coming, the generations to come. Can you guys talk about, just in particular as college athletes, what it was like to be a Native person at a university in an environment that was perhaps different for you, and both the good and the challenges of that?
Well, like you said, there's good and bad to it, and that's typical of almost every life experience that humans have. But I would say overall, I had a great experience at the University of Louisville. In many ways, it was a dream come true, and I never, like I said, never would have dreamt of having those opportunities, being in those facilities, having that much access, that much resource, just to play basketball and get my education. So I had a great experience overall. There were some challenges as far as being away from home. I have a big family that we're all very close, so that was hard being away from them. I was fortunate that my older sister was there with me, so that made it a smidge easier. But still, being away from your community, being away from your family, like, it brings so many challenges that you were never really ready for because you were just used to the res and being around people that you knew. It was a very small, tight-knit community, and then you go to this big world that you're just like, whoa, like, didn't even know all this existed. But obviously, we were very fortunate, had a lot of success on the court. There were some challenges as far as like maybe like a disconnect between just non-natives and being one of the very, very, very few natives on that campus, at a university, playing Division I basketball, all that stuff. So it brought obstacles in ways, but also our teammates were very open. They actually came to our reservation and got to experience that. So that was really neat. And it was the same thing, but on the flip side, where they're like, whoa, this is where you're from, this is where you live, this is what you do. And I'm just like, yep, this is us. And it's just a simple life living on the res. But like I said, going to school, it had good and bad, ups and downs. And like I said, I was fortunate that we were successful. That made it easier. I was blessed to just have my school paid for, get my education, experience all those things. But it's crazy to think that I could have, in ways, could have done more had I had all the, I don't want to say all the answers. I mean, hindsight is 20/20. When you're older and out of that situation, you look back and you're like, dang, I could have done so much more, so many more things, reached out to so many more people, seeked out so many more opportunities, but that's part of life. It's a learning experience. But at the end of the day, I'm blessed and I'm thankful that I had that, because I'm sitting here now and I'm helping pave the way for the people to come.
I think for me it was a little different just because I was 16 when I graduated high school, so everybody had 2 years maturity on me already. And my freshman year I went and didn't have my priorities right, almost lost my scholarship. And Charlie Meg said, come on, let's go, you meet me in the office. And I was so humiliated and so embarrassed because I wasn't doing what I said I was gonna do, which was represent the Navajo tribe, you know? And so Charlie tutored me almost every day, just to make sure to get my grades back up. And I brought it back up to like a 3.2 or something that brought me back up almost to a 3.0. And I never let it go below that again. And that was one thing that I never thought I could do, and I did it. And once I kind of broke through that glass ceiling, like, I went to work. I left my senior year getting unanimously picked by all the coaches for first team All Big Sky. I was also walked away with the MVP for NAU, and you know, I keep thinking like, man, if I didn't skip those grades, you know, I would have had 2 more years to just dominate. That was my thinking. So, you know, there were obstacles. There was probably my freshman year, there was probably 20, 50 times that I wanted to quit. I called my parents up, hey, just come get me, start packing my stuff. And there was one thing I did when I graduated high school. When I got my diploma, we're walking across the stage, I ran up to the mic and I said, NAU, here I come. And my dad always threw that in my face. He was like, oh, what would you tell those people? What are they gonna think of you? You know, they were gonna follow you. You know, you're supposed to set the example. Start unpacking my stuff. All right, you're right, you know, okay. And just reset and just get going again, you know, and held myself accountable for that stuff. And it just really brought a lot out of me that I didn't know was there. So that's what we're trying to teach the kids, is there's another level that you haven't even tapped into. And so that was my experience, you know, and just went out a legend, I guess.
Still a legend.
I had very similar experiences. At my first school, when I first got there, I was the only Native on my team. I was the first Native the first person in my school system to ever go Division I. And so I had no one. I had a couple people to look up to. I remember Jude and Shoni were in high school, and those were the only ones I could, you know, look up to. And I think we talk about representation, and it's important to see yourself up there, because when you don't, it's like, what am I even doing? What goal do I have? And so my biggest thing was there were some comments that always got made to me, and I think some of it was like blatant racism, you know, there's always gonna be those people. But a lot of it was just like unintentional learned biases that get passed down from generations, you know, and it's not even malicious all the time, but it's just like, well, I went to school and got called Pocahontas literally every day. And, well, that's just dumb. But then so I transferred, and at my other school, there's a very big international population. And so I was walking, and this guy was like, people will speak Spanish to me, and then someone thought I was Venezuelan. You know, I get that all the time. And so he came up to me and he was like, what ethnicity are you? And I was like, I'm Native. And he was like, are you Indian? And I was like Native American. And he was like, where do you live? And I was like on campus. I live in a dorm. And he was like, teepee? Like, literally, that's what he said. And I was like, it just makes me mad. So I was like, yeah, like, my horse is parked out front. Like, and so they literally did not, I was like, and so I started explaining to him, I was like, I'm indigenous to this land. Like, this is our land. And so he finally got it, but he thought we were extinct. And so, you know, that kind of, it made me really sad, but then it also motivated me to be like, man, I got to do better. I got to just do better for my people and get our people exposed to get these resources. Yeah.
Ryneldi?
Mine's kind of very different, as you can see my haircut. I grew up as a tomboy on the on the reservation. I grew up with 4 brothers, and I was a really tomboy. I never had a doll. I never had a brush. Never used hairspray or any of that. So I was kind of just being a tomboy, and used to get chased out of women's restrooms. Hey, the boy's in there, you know. And then sometimes I'd be embarrassed, but you know, it was hard growing up. And when I first started going, I started off with a junior college at Scottsdale Community College, and had to battle with knowing that I know the girls are going to be faster and stronger, and I had to compete with that. So my level of basketball had to excel, more running, more jumping, because on the reservation, when I grew up, it was running through tires, jumping on the tailgate. You know, we didn't have a weight room. No, you know, it was just basically doing it on your own. So I had to build my strength personally for my own. I'm pretty sure that's what the ladies here have done on their own. So we didn't have not a good resource as I was growing up. But then again, you know, even just at a young age, you know, running on the dirt road, picking up cans, and just trying to make a living, dribbling the ball on the dirt court, doing all those little things. But when I got to the college level, I had to face some adversity. Like I said, you know, having my hair cut short, but people realized, like, hey, you know, but I think the playing wise and excelling on the court, I gained that through that representation of, like, hey, that's Navajo, that's a Native, and being the first on the court. And, you know, my thing was, you know, it didn't matter. I mean, with my teammates, when, you know, they were Anglo and African American, I had to really prove myself in a lot of ways, because my dad always told me, you know, if you're going to go to college, I'm not going to drive 6 hours down there to watch you sit on the bench for 4 quarters, you know. I'm not going to do that. So he said, if you're sitting on the bench, that means you're not working hard, you're not going out there. And so I, for me personally, took it a big challenge. A part of me is because I wanted to start. I wanted to prove to a lot of people that I was the one that could make it out there, just as, for example, Cheryl Miller. And then on the backside, my dad was like, if you don't finish school, or if you're not playing hard, you're going to the service, you know, because my 2 older brothers, they didn't even have a choice, and I felt bad for them, but he sent them to the Navy right off when they got done at high school. So, which was great, but when I went to ASU, I had to excel again, you know. And the funny part when I went to ASU was, hey, you know, Ryneldi, you know, tomorrow, you know, you have an itinerary, you know, and said, we're going to be going swimming. And I'm like, swimming? Well, I mean, I know how to swim, but, and then the coach is like, yeah, we're going to be in this big old pool. And I say, hey, we just have a ditch. All we do is just jump in the water when it rains, you know. We don't have a swimming pool. So I had to learn how to breaststroke. I had to learn how to do all these things. And I'm like, and I actually was, you know, even being brown, but being in Phoenix, I became so dark. And my dad was like, you got real dark. And I'm like, Dad, it was crazy. But it was a great career for me. But of course, you know, we had to fight the battle. Thank you.
We were really excited when Ryneldi got to be on Sesame Street, because that was the first time ever she had put on makeup. And so we were like, wear it home, you know. But just exactly what these ladies has said. Mine is a little bit different. I went to Navajo Preparatory School, and that's in Farmington, New Mexico. And that school is where I work at now. But it really helped me and prepare me for college. And I stayed in the residential program there. And even within our own community at Navajo Prep, we just barely got away from calling our residential program dorms, just because of that stigma that, from our people that lived, in the dorms. And so we just got away from that and started calling them residential homes. So I stayed in the residential homes there at Navajo Prep, and it just really, just with that, being away from home, although I was only 30 minutes from home, but just being away from home, learning how to live, away from my parents, the time commitment that playing in sports, staying true to your academics. So that all helped me and prepare me, for college. Still, though, of course, being at Navajo Prep, I was amongst all the rest of the natives, all the other Navajos at Navajo Preps. So what I don't think really I was prepared for was, of course, going to Arizona State and being there in a huge, huge campus there. But just really trying to feel, and it was just probably a feeling for me, but just feeling like I fit there, like I deserve to be there. And like Ryneldi said, and it's, like I said, this is just coming from me, but I was feeling like I just had to prove myself, to others, to say, yes, I do belong here. I do fit in here. I can make it here. I'm not going to be another statistics for the Native Americans and drop out of college, and go back home, So it was constantly talking to myself, and proving, to myself or to whoever, that I'm going to graduate, with a degree here at Arizona State. And so natives were very quiet, were very shy, were very humble. And that's, a great thing, but, for that time where you have to speak up for yourself, for that time you have to, pat yourself on the back a little bit and talk about yourself, that's something that we're really not used to doing. And so that part was really hard for me, is to be able to really, speak up for myself. And on the court, it's easy. We dominate on the court. We let our game speak for itself. But off the court, that's where it gets a little bit harder. So that was kind of my struggle in college.
Thank you. I want to share a little bit about the IAAC and what we've set out to do here in the Final Four, and then I'll ask our last question to close it out. But the IAAC set out for the Final Four to do three things. And one is, anytime there's a national tournament that comes to Minnesota Mvskoke in Dakota, which means land where the waters reflect the sky, we ground this tournament and these experiences in the stewards of this land and the original hosts of this tournament, which is the Dakota and the Ojibwe, who have called this place home for centuries. And we did that through a halftime ceremony. If y'all got a chance to watch that powerful expression of Indigenous culture. And we did that we had a video that played, I think it's gonna play today as well, that some of these ladies are in, that shows exactly this issue and the power of sport and the need for more recognition. We also set out to bring Native youth to this experience. So we have over 200 tickets for each game were given to Native youth and Native families to come. Because if you come here and have this experience and see those ladies play, they can go back to their communities and they can dream it. And we also had a clinic yesterday at the American Indian Center, which these ladies were a part of, these legends. They worked hand in hand together with Native youth and shared knowledge with them and shared the experience and the joy of basketball. And we had a feast together. We shared a wonderful Indigenous-based meal together. And we had our sponsors who have lifted us up and allowed us to do this, including Excel Energy, the Minnesota Twins, and various other companies in town who took they allowed us the resources to do all of this, and we're very, very grateful for that. And the third thing we set out to do was to educate, to bring awareness to the decision makers and the leaders in the NCAA and the basketball coaches. So yesterday we had a panel at the WBCA, which is where all the coaches come, and we educated them on recruiting from Indian country, retention, and some of these issues that we're discussing today. And we feel like this is just the beginning for us, truly, because to get at this, there's issues on the ground that have to be dealt with, support for Native youth and families and communities. Here in Minnesota, today, these are current statistics, Minnesota Department of Education. Native youth graduate high school at a rate of 55%. That's the lowest of any group. Kids who don't speak English as their first language graduate 11% higher. So what is going on? It's not because we're deficient. There is no deficiency. It's because the system needs to be built up to support, and we need to empower these youth. And that's all part of what we're doing, because you can't have an opportunity to go, you can be the best player in the world, but if you can't get through high school, you're not gonna get it. So that's very much a part of our mission. And the last thing I'm gonna ask the ladies is, what would you like this audience to know about what we're doing and about Native communities overall? We'll start this way. Rainey. What would you, the community here, I mean, there may be people in the audience that don't have much experience with Native communities or Native athletes, so what would you like them to know, to walk away with today?
Well, I think, you know, as we sit here, we have a lot of Native students right now back at home in our home communities who just want a chance, you know, just want a chance to compete, to play at the next level, who are very talented, you know, and just to have that support. Granted, we were able to make it to that level and play at the collegiate level, but there's a lot of Natives who don't. We still have, it's still very much poverty at home. We still have many of our families that don't have electricity, don't have running water, who don't even have a vehicle, you know, and now everything is based off of, especially when everything closed down due to COVID, you know, no good cell services on our land. So it's still very much in an area where we need a lot of help still, you know, and we're doing what we can to help and to make opportunities for our people, but you know, it doesn't come easily, you know, and that's where just know that we are really striving, you know, and it's a continued challenge daily.
Ryneldi?
Before I forget, since she said I was so humble, but I was the first Native American Navajo to have my jersey retired at Arizona State University. So,
Thank you. There you go.
yeah, but I wanted this crowd and everyone to understand that, you know, help and reach out to the Native American community, believe in all of us, believe in, you know, just the Native, that we are, I mean, this is just unbelievable what Jessie did today, is just making this foundation, and for us to really push for what we've done. I mean, for the longest time, we've just been, all of us legends, just been sitting in the back, you know, but now we're out here, and all of you are probably like, wow, you guys actually are Division I, you know, and yeah, so if you Google our name, we're not lying. Because I tell a lot of kids, you know, we tell our stories, and then they're like, let me Google you, you know, and they're like, wow, you are, you know, and even when I went to New York, you know, when I got done with the set, I had people coming out, oh, you are, this is you. I said, yeah, I'm not lying, you know. But I just want you guys to know that there are talent out there, and like Rainey said there, we still have a long way to go, but we're not giving up, and we're gonna, like we all stress to the young kids, you know, we're gonna keep inspiring, and we're gonna keep doing what we need to do. because that's what God gave us to do, and we're going to keep doing it. And with your help and your reach, you know, that would really help a lot, not just Native Americans, but even for your community to go out and inspire kids. You know, these kids need encouragement. You know, a lot of them need encouragement, and that's what we're going to continue to do. So, but I appreciate all of you here today listening to our story, and, you know, and I'm just like, for all of us, I mean, even like me, when Jessie was, you know, got an award, when was it, Saturday? The Friday at halftime. And we're like, there's Jessie, you know, we were all excited just because we're like a team, you know, we're all trying to build a team and unite and push forward. And so this is just a great experience for all of us, and we're gonna continue to keep going on. So we appreciate all of you here listening to our story. So thank you.
Lakota.
I would say on the topic of resources, you know, just become an ally. And if it's not monetary, you can have cultural competence, learn whose land you're on, you know. Yesterday I got to speak on the panel to the NCAA coaches, and we talked, and I had a coach come up to me, and I had a lot of them come up to me, and the main question was, how do we recruit? And it's an overwhelming question for me because of our lack of resources. Thankfully, my parents had good jobs and worked their way up, you know, worked really hard. And so, and even then I faced some barriers, you know, and then I had teammates who their parents didn't have jobs. Some don't have internet. I had a coach yesterday that she said, I was like, well, you need to get the parents involved. Because in my recruiting process, my dad played Division I, and that was the only reason why I knew about the process and what to expect. And so I said, get the parents involved. And she said, well, they don't even have cell phones or a house phone. I know there are communities, and I'm Dakota. My people are from here. We have communities that don't have running water, and that's not because we're not trying to get it, you know. It's the lack of resources and the way that the system is set up for us to fail already. So I would say become an ally, you know. Like I said, it doesn't have to be monetary. That also helps. But just know, you know, that we're here, you know, we're still here.
I was just gonna lead with that. Like, just know that we're still here. You know, we're here and we're trying to make a difference for the people behind us. And we're trying to change that generational trauma into generational triumph for the youth behind us. So we're trying to use our game or use our recognition for healing for others as well. You know, and the support, as far as the resources goes, yes, definitely needed. You know, I'm from Arizona, but I live in the Florida Everglades, and it gets challenging out there too. And the kids out there, they also need support. Like, just Native kids everywhere need support. The minority kids everywhere need support. So just, you know, like she said, become an ally. You know, ask questions. If you're not sure about something, you know, just, I don't want to say we're sensitive to some things, because, you know, a lot of people are too, but just don't be afraid. Just ask somebody respectfully, and I'm sure that person, if you're respectful about it, that they'll explain things to you or share some of their struggles with you, and you get a better idea of what's going on.
Jude.
Yeah, I mean, I could reiterate every single thing that these ladies said, but at the end of the day, we're all human. Yesterday, I was saying, like, we should all be on the same team. Everybody is deserving of good, happy, and healthy things, and I can't think of anyone more deserving than my Native people. So any chance that you guys get as individuals, whether it's at work, whether it's at home in your community, if it's individually, if it's institutionalized, whatever it is, anything that you guys can do to help get our people good things, because they are super deserving, and we are a beautiful people, and we appreciate you guys learning and being open to learning that we are very good people who deserve good things.
And I'm going to put my lawyer hat on to answer this question, just to follow up on a few things, because the one thing that an athletic scholarship and that opportunity gave to me was to get my undergraduate degree, but then after playing, I was able to go to law school, and no one in my family had ever even gone to college. So, and I never even knew a lawyer. So I was able to do that, and then turn around and commit my career to representing Native people and tribes. And I'm currently general counsel for the Prairie Island Indian community. And the thing that I like to impart is that you can do things that cost you really no money, and it starts with knowledge and awareness. So get to know a little bit about the 11 tribes here in Minnesota and the issues we face, and you have power in your vote too. The people who you vote for go and they make decisions that impact us. Still, Native people today, policy is done to us, not by us, for the vast majority of the issues that we face. So who you put in those seats to make those decisions, we're doing our job, we're going and we're advocating and we're lifting ourselves up. But if you can help us in that way, it is a powerful expression of your voice. Representation matters. And this opportunity here today was incredible. But I just want to say to these ladies that you are amazing representatives of Native people in your communities. And I'm so grateful for you. And I also want to recognize the IAAC, so the group of people who came together and planned for going on a year to bring these folks and to bring these issues here to the Final Four. So if you could stand up, please, IAAC members. And Dom, please stand up from Hoop Medicine. Our work will continue after today, but for today we say Mado, thank you, and enjoy the championship.